and a QR code, I believe, where you can make a donation to support XR Women, even if it's just a small amount, because it does cost us to run this series of this community, and we also devote a lot of time and effort to it. So we would really like to have your support. Another way you can support us is by buying our merch. We have a merch store on Spreadshop. And please follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube. We are still on Twitter or X. And if you are not on our Slack yet, then I hope you will join it. I can put a link into the chat a bit later with an invitation to join. That's where you'll hear a lot of information about what's going on with XR Women. We have our own art gallery in Frame that's part of our XR Women Museum, and the gallery, the museum features posters of all the 165 events that we have had. And it's really pretty cool to see it. But there's also this art gallery, which currently has the work of Trisha Giannakis, some interactive, very cool work there. So please pop in to visit it because it won't be there for long. Jenna Lambert curates both the museum and the gallery, and she's working on another exhibition coming up soon. We will announce that when it is ready. But you can pop in there anytime by going to framevr.io/XR Women Museum. And you can still visit our XR Women Spatial Computing Business Showcase in Engage. We have it set so that you can go in there by yourself and trigger the show to play, as well as interact with the booths of the 9 XR businesses led by women in the space. If you haven't seen it, I really encourage you to try it out. It's a lot of fun. I certainly had a lot of fun with it, as you will see when you visit there. So when you go to Engage, you join by session ID, you join session, then choose join by session ID, and you enter in MRGPL, all uppercase, and that will take you directly into the space where you can visit the booths, interact with them, and watch the show. And coming soon, we're going to have an XR Women Research Library that's being curated by Sarah Barker. I'm super excited about this. Can't wait to show it to you all. Sarah is doing some amazing stuff there. So it's just expanding all the offerings we have for the community. Our awards nominations are open now for awards in the categories of real world impact, innovation, and trailblazer. If you go to our website, as you'll see on the screen at the top left, there's an XR Women Awards link that you can click on to make a nomination. And I know we have one of our award winners here. Deirdre Lyons was the winner of the 2023 Innovation Award. We'll be presenting our awards live on stage at the Augmented World Expo on June 19th. And this is a great way for women to get a boost to their profile, be recognized for their work. So it really means a lot to nominate someone. I encourage you to nominate early and often. Next week is our spring break. Every now and then we need to take a break, and next week is when we're going to do it. I hope we'll be able to get out and enjoy some lovely flowers as you are seeing here now. Then we'll have Kathy Moya in Frame, who will be speaking. Uh-oh, what happened there to my screen? All right. Did I do that? I guess I did.
It's interactive.
Okay, sorry about that, you all. There we go. I think that's a little better now. I think everyone can see it. Apologies.
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay. All right, now let me find my other. Then we're having Kathy Moya speak about Microsoft Mesh on April 10th. Following that, we'll have Lisa Maria Wertzinger, who is the creator of Arrival.space. She's a longtime member of our community, and we're really excited for her for the success that she has had recently with Arrival.space. Super cool web-based space, makes great use of AI, and we'll all get to see it on April 17th. But now it's time for the main event today. Oops. Oh my goodness. I am going to actually close this asset. I'm going to delete it. And, or try to at least. Don't seem to be able to do so. I'm just going to stop sharing. That's what I'm going to do. And then I will let Sarah Atkinson take it over with stopping screen sharing. Yay, there we go. Okay. Now, Sarah, do you have, I don't know if you have a slide set up. Sarah is the one who is here as the Glow curator. And I just have to say how incredibly impressed I am with what she has put together for the Glow series of events. It feels to me like a catalyzing moment for women, and especially women who are artists and creative technologists and in this space. Yesterday, there was a panel on critical curatorial practices that was just amazing. Many resources shared there, some really important discussions. And I think that the Glow series is going to be something that we're going to look back on. I hope that Sarah will do it again next year, maybe with our help. I know she put an awful lot of work into it. And if you haven't visited the website yet for the Glow event, please do so and check out everything that is happening, will be happening, or has already happened for it. But in order to introduce Sarah Atkinson, who is a professor of screen media at King's College London, and she's the editor of Routledge Resources Online, Screen Studies, also co-editor of Convergence, the International Journal of Research into New Media Technologies. Wow, that sounds right up our alley, doesn't it? Sarah's published widely on the film, cinema, and screen industries. And again, her work with the Glow exhibition is just amazing. So please join me in welcoming Sarah, and let's hear from her.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you to XR Women for including us. This is really, really an important moment and a great event. So thank you. And can I just request that people don't move my slide deck around? I think that happened to you, Karen. Someone grabbed your screen and moved it, and it sort of throws you off. So I'm presenting on this screen here, so it'd be great if you didn't kind of touch it or move it. This is my first time presenting in spatial, so yeah, I'm not a bit of a newbie. So yeah, so thank you all for coming, and thank you so much to Violeta for creating this space that you entered into, the wonderful gallery space, which she's done in such a short space of time. I was just scanning those environments, I think on Friday, and she's created that space. So please do go back and have a look around, because you'll see lots of the things that I'm going to briefly touch on in these slides in much more detail. But one of the ambitions of Glow was to reach a really wide global audience, and obviously the exhibition's in central London, so that's prohibitively, inaccessible for many of you and lots of people. So to have it here in this virtual space is really, really special, really great. So thank you. So the exhibition itself then in the physical space launched on International Women's Day on the 8th of March, and it runs through to the 20th of April. So I'm going to talk through what it involves. So there's various different locations. This is where I work on the Strand at King's College London. So we're using a gallery space there. We're using something called the Curiosity Cabinet, which is a shop front windowed space for our exhibits. And we're using external locations on the Strand Aldwych as well, which is one of the busiest thoroughfares in London. About 14 million people traverse that each year. So it's an amazing place to showcase these works and to get them in front of the general public, as well as the history of immersive and virtual technologies, really kind of sharing and showcasing current innovation, but how and what the histories have been that have enabled us to be where we are today. So we have 4 new commissions for Glow, and you're going to hear from 2 of them today, from Lisa Jamhoury and also from Violeta Ayala. So they're going to talk more about their pieces. So I'm not going to steal their thunder and talk about them. I'm just highlighting here so you can see them on location. Wonderful augmented reality, accessible artworks in a central London space. They're beautiful and they're brilliant, and you can experience them here today in this virtual space. Then we have the work of Yali Allison. Again, Violeta has put her work into the portals in the gallery space, so you can go and see a virtual version of Yali's work. And then also our 4th commission was Urban Projections, Rebecca Smith, who did an amazing piece in that church that you just saw in the image. There's an amazing church in the centre of the Strand Aldwych called St Mary's Strand Church. And for 3 days, we had this wonderful volumetric lighting and sound, immersive sound piece that was drawing in data from environmental sensors that surround that space, because it's a recently pedestrianised space in London. Again, it was the most busiest polluted road in London, and it's now turned into this beautiful kind of community space because they've pedestrianised it. So we've really capitalised on that for this. So just a bit about the origins, where this all came from. It's a book that myself and my collaborator at USC in America wrote, Vicky Callahan. And this book doesn't actually come out, I should say, till spring 25 before you ask to see copies. And it was from the frustrations that this book wouldn't be out for so long that I wanted to do Glow, to really shine a light on all of the amazing contributions being made now and in the past also by women, non-binary and trans creatives in emergent media spaces. So we interviewed over 140 of those individuals, and it's just some of those stories that we've been able to carry forward in Glow and in the Curiosity Cabinet space that you can see outside around you. So just some of the pieces I'll highlight so you can see what we're trying to do here is to track very early, or the very first innovations made by women creators to this space. So this is a piece by Rebecca Allen that you may know, created in 1981. It's the first animated female figure in computer generated imagery. It's just a simple 6-minute video called The Swimmer, but is the first instance where a female figure was created computationally like this. So a real landmark contribution that we should all know about and we should all share with everyone. Another first was from the artist Peggy Weil, who at the same time in 1981 was creating what we now know as deep fakes. The very early technology where she was doing text to speech and then translating that into real-time animation. So it's a really early example of this. Again, the first time someone was experimenting in this medium. Then we have the wonderful work of Tomiko Thiel. So we're showing Travels of Mariko Horo in the exhibition, but this is to kind of really pay tribute to Tomiko's work in early virtual world creation. She was creating virtual worlds at the point that they were coded by text, before even visual computer generated interfaces were there. And she worked with Steven Spielberg in a very early example of a virtual world, that we're now very, very familiar with. And she worked with Steven Spielberg, who was E.T. in this world called Starbright World. So again, really early innovator who should always be recognized and celebrated in our space. So these are images of the Curiosity Cabinet that I mentioned. So this is always open and always switched on. It's a place you can go and look at. It's not, you don't go inside, you look through the windows and you see all these various different curiosities, which are from the histories of virtual world creation and digital creativity by women. So there's lots of video in there. There's the wonderful scholograms that you can see on the left that light up, light boxes by Ellen Sandor, which are early examples of virtual reality. And yeah, really important contributions made in the 80s and 90s by women working virtual reality. This is Nicole Stenger wearing Yaron Lanier's glove, data glove and headset. And this is the first virtual world film that she made there. This is Margaret Minsky, who created some of the first haptic technologies that are now, underpinning the haptics that we know today in virtual spaces. She was using joystick technologies to emulate the feeling of surfaces and textures as part of her PhD at MIT. So really fundamental contribution. And then this is Donna Cox, who collaborated to create Virtual Director, which is basically, and this again was in the 90s, an early iteration of what we know as virtual production software. So cave environments that are 360-degree real-time generated graphics that you can interact with and collaborate remotely with people. So again, something that we should all recognize and understand and know about, that this was a woman who was involved in creating this. And there's the augmented reality project, again by the artist Rebecca Allen. And it was these glasses that the founders of Google went to see in this picture below, which features in our exhibition in the bottom right. The founders of Google went to look at her glasses, and then lo and behold, Google Glass came out years later. But again, it was her contribution, her experimentation, her creativity that led and informed these innovations. And then Noni de la Peña, already mentioned today. She worked in 2012 on a piece in Hunger in LA that premiered at Sundance. And this led to an early iteration of what we now know as the Oculus Rift headset. So we're displaying this in the cabinet, and we're also showing Hunger in LA. So that was the piece that she created that led to walk around portable VR, which was again a huge innovation, but her name will often be hidden behind someone called Palmer Luckey, who was actually her intern on that project, who went on to develop the Oculus and to sell it to Facebook, now Meta, for £1 billion deal. So Noni de la Peña is a name you should know in that narrative. And then we have a wonderful VR program curated by Liz Rosenthal. And these are 12 pieces that you can access throughout the exhibition in our pop-up VR viewing space. They're wonderful projects, all created by women or collaborations by women, or telling the story of women's lived experience through the lens of virtual reality. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there because I really want you to hear from my two wonderful artists, Violeta and Lisa. Thank you very much.
So Violeta, if you're speaking, I don't hear you. I think you're muted.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi. Well, hi, how are you? Welcome, everybody. My name is Violeta Ayala. To begin with, I would like to pay my respect to the indigenous people in which land I'm standing on today. They were, are, and forever be the owners of this land. My name is Violeta Ayala, and I'm a filmmaker and a creative technologist. I belong to the Quechua people, and I can trace back my identity to 26,000 years ago when my ancestors crossed the Bering Strait. So I will talk to you a little bit about the creation of my recent work, The Witches. I would call myself a world maker. I love creating worlds, as you could see. Not very optimized, of course, but you could see The Witches. You could see the strand. I love 3D scans, and I feel like playing is the only way. There is no formulas, and this is something I really love as a filmmaker. I always like to create worlds. So this is part of that journey. I learned semantic coding not so many years ago, and it's because in this journey of like there is no rights and no wrongs. It's all about trying. It's all about I don't know, playing, testing, and having fun. I love to create the little details of worlds, and I realized as I was creating that there are things that I didn't even realize, even when I was inside Glow myself, right? a lot of things I didn't realize while making las aguichas. And now that as I put the gallery together, because I learned with experiences, I realize and I'm starting to understand more of the history of this woman, and I want to make a bigger gallery. And las aguichas, let me share my screen now. I will see where I go to share. This is my side of the gallery. As I said, I really like a lot to I adore to create work. It's because I believe we can change things, but it's a very personal joy that I feel when I can create a world. Okay, I didn't log that video, but you can watch it later. I'm gonna share my screen here. So the genesis of everything are the grandmothers that I generated through AI more than 2 years ago, when you could do square by square, a little bit by a little bit. It wasn't like today. And it was a very personal project. Personal in the sense of I wanted to find, now you could see the grandmothers. Somebody asked me if they can supposed to see something. I can share my screen now, but you can see them all around you. They're the ones that I created 2 years ago. And it was in order to find my own ancestors. I wanted to fight this colonization, and I wanted to fight the idea of what others made of my own ancestors. So I wanted to show who I was, who my ancestors were. And these are the grandmothers that came. I made them with DALL-E 2, as I said, square by square. And soon after, very personal project became a very bigger project, because I went, they show in my town, in a gallery in Cochabamba, and now they are in London, and there's a lot of things written by them, about them. And the creator of DALL-E gave me, like, he shared my story on Twitter, and I got a fellowship from OpenAI because of these grandmothers. And I wanted always to create the second part, that was what is shown in London, that it's their spirit animals, right? And I have learned a lot about AR now, and I can share with you a little bit the process of creation, because it's one of the things that I really enjoy about it. There are 8. I have created like 100 of them. Let me see if I can share my screen. I also have this feeling that we keep behaving like we do all of these presentations, and we keep behaving like in a 2D world, when we have these 3D ways of behave and being, right? And so that's why I wanted to create this presentation. And each little bubble, you can come back later, and each little bubble, like, you can actually go to the AR experience of their WeChat. You can go through this TL draw that you see here. Here you can see my thinking process through the process that I documented there. And so each little bubble is for you to visit later and go inside. For me, it's very important to understand and experience this idea. What if we can have conversations away from this 2D world? Why should we keep trying to do 2D worlds when we have these amazing 3D worlds that we can explore? And we need to learn, and we need to decide the rules, right? And We can decide the rules of how this is going to be. Why should we expect men and others to define how these interactions will be if we can do it ourselves? So for me, this is also even to create a space. How much can I create in 3 days? If more people help me to create in days, what's going to be? How can we create these worlds together? How we can envision these 3D animals that you see here? They are robots. Why robots should be what men decide robots should be? Why can we not create our own robots and our own way to, like, look, even if you're playing with that thing, it's something that I'm seeing you doing. What can we, because I didn't lock it, and why can we not have
Sorry, I was trying to move and then it just moved the thing. I apologize.
Don't worry, but this is the point. This is for me a point, right? Why we don't have this tactility of things? What can we touch things? How can we go when we open these worlds rather than being so close to idea of what it should be, right? I see again if I can somehow share my screen. Share screen. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen of my process of thinking to create this. Share. I don't know where it is.
It showed up right in front of you. It's right in front of you.
Okay, great. Okay. So how it is?
You go onto a speaker mode because I think the spatial audio is on and people are having trouble hearing you if they're not very. Only 3D voice. Okay, got it. Thanks.
If you are close, if you're far away, you cannot hear them. So this is a little bit my conceptual map. What I'm gonna share with you now, as you can see it. I started by thinking about the Quechua idea. In Quechua worldview, time is continuum, where the future lies unseen behind us and the past is visible ahead, challenging linear perception. And this really, this idea of having a 3D world for me was key in my making, right? Because in my understanding of this space, because I understand space as a 3D world, and why should I always have to be defined as a 2D world when I have made 5 award-winning films. I'm a member of the academies. So I am a filmmaker that ended up discovering that I could create one more world and another idea, but I had to learn something called semantic coding. What it means that I can code with words. I have built all of the AR and everything here. So the genesis, as you can see, are, and what I'm showing you is again my thinking. This is my thinking board. So the genesis are the grandmothers, the 8 grandmothers that became the genesis of the entire project. That I created a couple of years ago now. They are actually they're becoming something that everybody talks about it in the industry of AI because it gives a reason for artificial intelligence, right? I use artificial intelligence to actually create something that I never had. And because of colonization, the point of view towards women, Quechua woman was always a point of view of, I don't know, like looking us down, of like a colonizer point of view. So I wanted to change that colonizer point of view. And these are how I reimagine. I dare to do that. So all of this is public again. All of my work is public because I do believe in sharing. I believe that sharing is caring for real, and I belong to a community of people that I don't have fear of anybody copying my work. I think that's stupid and this macho attitude. I'm very open to everybody. So I actually, while I was making this, everybody could go and see it. And some people destroy my work sometimes because they didn't know how to use the platform. And it didn't matter, because I always can make it back. And that's the point, right? So I created these animals that they belong inspired on the Nazca lines. I inspired myself on the Nazca lines. And it was also a co-creative process again, because I was talking a lot to Neil Jackman, one of the 3D artists, and through talking to him came this idea of, okay, what else? What else will come? And he was the one who inspired me to, in a sense, to come with this with the Nazca lines. So I wanted to have the water and the air and the earth and the Andes and the Amazonia and the apex animals. And because we all belong, I believe that we all belong to this world. And so each of their grandmothers have their own animals, and that works on in AR too. So as part of this project, so we did here you go. This is the process that we were creating them. As I said, one of the creators, somebody's writing. Where it is? Yeah. One of the creators, Neil Jackman, he created 4 of the animals, and then I found another artist in Bolivia called Brian Mamani. He was 22 years old from La Paz. He's indigenous, he's Aymara, I'm Quechua. And he created the other 4 and he animated all of these characters. As you can see, I haven't, as I said, I haven't prepared this presentation as per se. I was worlding. I'm showing my own process. So my own process of working in Blender to animate the animals, to find a way to animate them like we do with Rococo for humans, so we will be able to achieve this, and all my learning process. And at the end, I didn't put everything, because that always goes like that. But through the beginning of this process, anyone, Sarah, or anyone at the team that working, we could see the process. And it's something that for me, it's, again, I say key. I believe in open source. I believe in decentralization. And I believe in, I don't want to change a macho world for another macho world. Feminism for me is to change to a different, totally different way of creation. So it was this project. Then brought together, go to the too big. Okay. So we brought together, Sarah brought together designers of the gallery. It's called Alphabetical Studio. And then they start bringing another side of this. So I have created something first. Yeah, then I changed the idea, but they went through it. And again, with Alphabetical Studio was a process of co-creation. And one thing is what we wanted to create, one thing is what we created in the end, but this is the process of this, and this is what I love of this. That's why I call Las Witches a digital experience, because immerses viewers in this interactive XR installation where ancestral memories are reimagined through the lens of technology. The AI-generated grandmothers come to life through augmented reality, each linked to the Andean animal spirit by the Nazca lines. Las Witches embodies the fluid concept of time and the deep bond between the living and non-living. It challenges the Western notions of photography and film as mere factual representations, and technology become a tool to reframe cultural narratives with more dignity and nuance. I am weaving lost narratives by bringing the past into the present, where reality and illusion intertwine. I also deeply believe in the Chenko, and the Chenko concept is that we all mix in a sense, and our ideas mix, and then we make them ours. And that's what I say. I'm not afraid of anybody copying me, and I'm not afraid of copying anybody. We all borrow. And this idea, I'm the first of this. This is a very macho idea for me. We also created sculptures. I learned a lot because I didn't know anything about 3D sculpture. For my next exhibition, I'm actually already working on sculptures, on 3D printing, sorry, not sculptures. I'm not that kind of artist. So also Neil, I work with the digital lab at the King's College to create this 3D printing animals, and this was through the process. Yeah. So I went through what I wanted, what happened, but I wasn't really involved in this process because I was just doing too much. So, but you could see how we go from first idea to mock-ups to and what we did, and then so yeah, you could see like I have 3D maps, scans. I started to design how the project will work. Sorry if I'm moving too fast, and how will be the user experience. As you say, you can see all this part of the process. And it's a lot. I was having to think not just digital but physical, and that was a real challenge for me because I come from a digital world, and I created something called Prison X that premiered in Sundance and was in VR, and now was an extra. Like Sarah pushed me to a place where I never thought I could go, to be able to actually code an entire experience, and think about this digitality to it, and think about how we make it digital. These are still maps, I guess, of the exhibition. It's not so interesting. Yeah, that's the digital experience, and that's my design for it. And I watched something of my friend Vincent Morissette, and then I start thinking, how can I create it like a film? And now it's like a film. And then I start like this, creating these frames. There are too many frames, actually, too many frames. And so in the end, I'll just use the first, the second, and then few, and then I created 3 different experiences. So, but this is just the first map of this project, as you could see. So I was just like how the user would experience, you're going to trigger, but in the end, I decided that you didn't need to trigger anything. And this is quite amazing. I'm proud of that it works in any phone. About the accessibility, I also created a whole set of, see it in koa.xyz, a whole set of experiences, digital and digital, that you can draw with your nose, you can edit just by touching the screen as part of it. And also, these are my own AI models. I'm training my own AI model for image creation. So I also show a little bit of this, as you can see. It's called El Chenko, right? That I mix everything. And it's getting better. And when I don't train it much, it gets worse. And I also create all of the narration for their witches with AI, using my voice and the voice of somebody else, mixing 2 voices to be able to have a much less computerish kind of, still a little bit, but you know. And then the text in Quechua for the exhibition. And yeah, it was another idea of Sarah, I think, and alphabetical, and I wrote in Quechua something that I felt really like a poem. It was, their witches belong to everyone, but not unto no one. They arise from our collective memory, yet they resemble robots. I have taken the past, the present, and the future into my own hands, because I do want to create my past and my present and my future, and I don't want any man to define what it should be. So they embody the cycle of heaven, earth, and the underworld. And the music and sound, again, Dan Fulshaw helped me with the music. This is just a little, my conceptual work. Dan Fulshaw created the music, and we used something that I had done before. It's something that I have to work a lot, actually, still for the next things. And here are just little photos of the whole process and a little bit who I am. This is where my grandmother comes from. And this is where I went back to learn to describe before using AI. I went back to this Pampa, and I learned descriptive words, be able to, and I look at the woman and how my own ancestors would look like. So I came back and I started writing that to create. Actually, this is my grandfather's town, and this is my community of Pocuata. I'm here with my auntie, and then the robotic animals, and the first exhibition of the witches in Bolivia, and also how we move them with like something that Lisa does a lot better than me, but with I use the motion capture suit. And when I said about like how I create and how I'll stop this now. So when I talked about how I'll write where to go to experience. When I write about how we create, how we have this once in a lifetime opportunity to change these realities, it's because if we don't use it, we're missing out one opportunity that we will never have again, right? We will never have this opportunity again. And it is computers being designed by men and for men and all of the programs, but we have this opportunity to design our own computers. Go to ChatGPT, go to Cloud by Anthropic, ask them, make me a calculator, a simple calculator, cut and copy that code and put that code onto CodePen or any editor. And then you will see a calculator coming. And then you're going to start learning how you can use this. This is not just to generate images. This is, you can do so much. As I said, I could, how long I have, by the way?
Well, I
Yeah,
think
probably
really
wrap
we're
up a
coming
bit
up toward
soon,
the end
yeah.
of our official event at 1. So if we can switch over to Lisa
Yeah.
now, I think that would be
Yeah,
good.
that'd be
Yes.
Okay.
But this is amazing. I love
Okay,
hearing
so-
about everything you're doing. We could hear you talk for a long time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, hi. So I thought Sarah had said a 10-minute presentation, so I have a 10-minute presentation, but 6 minutes. So I don't know what would be the best way. I guess I could just start it and then just kind of get
Yeah.
we can follow you.
Um,
So we can follow you the side of the.
so all the way to the back.
Sure, Lisa, and we can, I'm sure plenty of people will be able to stay on longer, so don't feel like.
To try to be wrapped in 5 minutes. Karen and Sarah, I don't know if you heard me, but if you could just let me know what's
Yeah, I think go ahead and take do what you were planning to do, Lisa, and we'll hope that everybody can stay along just a little bit longer. Do that.
Okay,
Take
great.
the full
So sure, great. So I'll go ahead and get started. So my presentation is here on the back wall, and hopefully you can hear me. Oh, great. I'm glad some of you can stay a little bit longer. So so my name is Lisa Jamhoury, and the project that I presented, that I'm, I guess, currently presenting at Glow in London is called L'Entrée, or the opening, and it's a series of virtual sculptures. And there are 3 of them of the series that are being presented right now. So just so you can see, these are what the sculptures look like. And they're presented at 3 sites along the Strand. So the Strand, you're seeing sort of an aerial view of the Strand here, and it's about a little bit less than a quarter of a mile long. And there are these 3 sites. Hold on, let me just try to get a little bit closer here. 1 second. Okay. So there are these 3 sites, and each of them has a plinth that triggers an augmented reality experience where you can see the sculptures in virtual reality. So here are what the 3 sites look like actually in situ, and these are the plinths that are topped with a 3D printed sculpture, which I'll show you a better picture of in a second. But just so that you can get a sense of the space, this is a very quick walkthrough video of just so you can get a sense of sort of the space of the strand and how they're placed. You can just kind of wander around through this video. So that's plinth 1. That's where the bush house is. That's the second plinth. And then all the way at the end of the strand, down here where the traffic begins again, is the 3rd plinth. So just to give you a sense of what the exhibition feels like. So this experience is made up of 5 elements. The first one here on the left is the plinth itself, and this piece is really a commentary on sculpture and capture in general, and what it means to capture the body. So the idea of what we put on a plinth and using plinths as an object is actually quite an important one to the project, which I don't really have the time to get into today, but the plinth is a very important part of it. The second part here is a 3D print. So what you're seeing in this 3D print is one of the prints that's out on the strand, and the prints are actually the positions of the dancers and the positions that make the sculptures. The third image that you're seeing here, the third element, is the virtual sculpture itself. So you can see here what the virtual sculpture looks like in space. And then, and I forgot to start this video, but what you're seeing there all the way on the right is the sort of virtual dance of the sculpture. So at each of these plinth sites, there's a QR code on the plinth. You can use your phone to activate it. And within that, you then see the sculpture come up, and the sculpture does this sort of dance as it moves around and shows itself off. So that's 4 of the 5 elements. The 5th element is the audio. And each of these is accompanied by an audio poem that I've written and a spatial soundscape that's been created by the sound artist Matt McCorkle. So this is just one of the poems, and I'll play a very short clip of it just so that you can get a sense of what it sounds like. It is fully spatialized, so I hate to play it in an environment like this where you don't have like spatial headphones, but I'll give you maybe 20 seconds of it just so you can get a sense of the sort of the way that it sounds or the way that it feels. Okay, unfortunately you can't hear anything, so I guess the screen share doesn't allow sound to come through, so I'll just skip over it. But just to give you a sense, the sound is meant to have a real strong weight to it, and so the sounds that you would be hearing if we had sound through the screen share are these sort of really loud sort of stones crushing and big movements. Really these sort of sounds that are meant to feel like you're pulling sort of between physical elements and digital elements. And that's really what this piece is all about. I call this piece a memorial at the digital virtual threshold. And it's a piece that really came out of several years of thinking and research about what it means to capture the physical body and what we gain and lose through becoming virtual. I have a background in aerial acrobatics, yoga, and mindfulness. And so I'm very centered in my physical body practice and in being in my physical body. And so I think a lot about, what is the role of our physical body as we move into a capture-mediated existence, or as we move into spaces where we're represented by essentially digital artifacts of ourselves. And so that's really what this piece is about. And the 3 sculptures all touch on sort of a sub-theme within that. And those three themes, which are all sort of borne out in the audio poem and in the spatial audio, are the body in service to technology. So how we contort or shape our bodies for our communications technology specifically. The second one is about the body surveilled. And so how technology is sort of watching us and potentially controlling our movements. And then the third one is about the reductionist act of virtualization. So, what it means to try to take a fully physical, embodied human being and move them into something like an avatar or an Instagram feed or a text chat. And, what is that? What does that mean? And again, this sort of it sounds ominous, but all of these sort of play with both the gains that come from virtualization, but also the losses, right? So it's really kind of playing in this liminal space. So because we're all XR women, I thought it would be really great, or XR practitioners. I know there's maybe not all women here in the room. So I just wanted to show this video. It's 3 minutes, and this is the end of my presentation. So I think I'll hit right at my 10-minute mark. But this is the process behind creating the sculptures. And so I'll just go ahead and roll it and talk over it. So the process actually starts with photogrammetry. We use 162 cameras to photograph 2 performers, Francoise and Nikki, and we create avatars out of both of them. We then take the avatars into ZBrush or Blender and retopologize them, so give them exactly the same topology, which is actually quite a process. If you've ever had a photogrammetry model, you'll know what a process this is. So we retopologize them, which then allows us to find the topology that's right in the middle of them. So essentially we blend them together and we create one final avatar or sculpture that's made out of both of them together. So this whole piece actually comes out of a 45-minute motion capture performance piece. So what you're seeing here is Francoise and Nikki in their physical forms on a motion capture stage using the OptiTrack motion capture system. They're both wearing 41 markers and they're being tracked in real time. In the performance, they're actually live, they're live moving the avatars in Unreal. For the sculptures, I actually take recordings of the data in the OptiTrack system, or in Motive, which is the software. I take them out, I create FBXs, I do all of the retargeting in Motion Builder, and then I pull them back into Unreal, and you'll see that in the next step. So here, when I pulled this back into Unreal, I've actually created a sort of my own little sculpting software program within Unreal Engine, where I have the animations and the avatars, and I'm able to sculpt based on sort of animation sequences, different blend ways, and the amount of avatars that I want to work with. And so I create these sculptures in Unreal with that custom made sort of GUI software. And as you can tell, there's like there are so many things that look interesting, and so I can spend a lot of time in here on trying to kind of figure out, what are the ones that I really want to export. And then when I finally do export them, then there's sort of this whole other layer of taking these really complex sculptures that I've created in Unreal and making them right for something like web AR, which is what I'm showing on this strand. We had to take something that's like 6 million polygons and make it about 40,000 polygons. So you can imagine this is quite a process. And this is what the final sculptures look like when they've been exported and lit. Again, this is all happening in Unreal Engine. So thank you. I just wanted to kind of end with the credits. This is, obviously a project that has taken a couple of years. It's still in development, but a lot of people have worked on it. And, I'm very thankful for the new museum, Onassis and Kings and Sarah, of course, for all of the support and for really seeing the need for this type of work. So, and thank you also XR Women for having me here to talk. It's been really great just learning about your community and being a part of it today. So that's all of what I had prepared to talk about. There is a little bit of video from the performance at the front of the gallery if you have time and you want to see it. You can also check out the sculptures, which are here in the gallery, and some images of them as well. And then that making of video is also on the wall here, so you're welcome to check them out in your own time. So thanks so much again.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Really awesome work that you're doing, Lisa, and you too, Violeta. So incredible. And we're privileged to have the chance to get a peek of it. And I do hope that we'll be able to come back and spend more time with the work here at another time. But your process is so complex. um, Clear that you put a lot into this. You said a couple of years it took to.
Yeah. So yeah, this project actually started during the pandemic because I do have a performance background in contemporary circus. During the pandemic, I saw all of these amazing shows going online, sort of between those like 16:9 webcams, and I got really interested in thinking about how can we relay performance in a more immersive way? Like, if we're going to be stuck behind our computers and not be able to go in real life to see interactive performances or immersive performances, how do we make it, these experiences more immersive or more spatial? And so that's sort of where the project started with capture and with thinking about how we relay movement and capture. And the female body. So
Yeah,
I think
right.
I think
And
this
it's so
space.
interesting.
Sorry, I think one of the things that we have now is that these spaces are going to be here, they're public, and everybody can come back whenever they have time or they want to play and look into each of these little spaces that we have. These little teleportations are through our own websites and different places that we would like you to see it. So you can come back here, you can go back to the Strand, teleport to the Strand. I wanted to make also the tube, like I scanned the tube in London, and I wanted to make a way that I will actually at some point, because this is about worlding. This is what worlding and what Web3 and these possibilities is for me about it. Like we can break all of these paradigms, right? And so, like, please do come back, check our videos, check our work. I think the work of my colleague Yarly Allison is quite amazing. I think it's the work of all of our work that my daughter that's young relates the most to, because it's a box of surprises that I wasn't able to see it when I was at the Strand at a level that I did now. It's quite fantastic the way that how we will maybe have children, and it's just a fantastic work with a lot of things. Lisa's work is amazing. I also want to pay my respect to Beck and her lighting show, and that was completely mind-blowing. And we're thinking about how can we create something together with Beck about for children and with 3D models and worlding. And so this is what we are building together. And I think that the amazing work of Sarah Atkinson, right, that is put all of this together. It started as something so little, and Sarah, you have pushed me to a place I never went through. I could say proudly that I have coded an entire AR experience with, and it's really amazing. At the moment, I'm having 500 people, between 500 and 600 people are actually interacting with the 3D animals every day.
That's incredible.
Look,
That's
more
amazing.
than my work that premiered at Sundance, I will tell you, more than my work that premiered at Sundance and Tribeca and all of these festivals. I come from that world, and more of that, more people are interactive because it is really accessible. And I think it's the same happening for Lisa. So I think that at this moment where festivals are struggling to exist and survive, and we don't have funding to do all the work what we're doing. This was done by a very little budget, as Sarah can tell you, and also Lisa. And I think we need more support because we are actually the ones who define what will be the cinema and the experience of the future. And if just men have this money to do that, how we supposed to do that? And we need to experiment. We need to experiment these ways of creation. Like, yes, like how amazing that we can see Lisa's cultures here. Yeah, might not be exactly the same as the originals, but we do have a 3D perspective now of how they look like, right? We do have
Yeah.
like, and the same as my animals walking around, like
Right.
we have a different way of understanding this. And I think, sorry, I need to be close to you. I think this is really important. And this is groundbreaking. And that's what women have to do. We need to dare to experiment. We don't have to be afraid. I was afraid because I didn't do a presentation. But guys, I created girls, women. I created this world for you. I didn't make a presentation. I created a world that you could feel. And I created for me, and I created for my colleagues. And I created from my own memory, and I created for my own daughter in the future that she will be able to go and see it. And I thank you so much for coming, but I also wanna point out that you can always come back. These spaces are open. These spaces exist. I hope that we can get more funding, make the special for the Strand a real curiosity cabinet with a lot of more things, because actually my daughter will go to that. I will go to that, but I won't read a book because I will read a book, but my daughter won't read a book. I'm honest with you. That people will visit these spaces. People are actually using these 3D worlds that we are creating. Like even as I was making it, 200 people already, like as I was building every day, everybody's coming in, like all of these gamers, these boy gamers, were trying to see what I was making inside, right? At the spatial thing. And it's scary, but I think that we need to experiment. And my advice to all of you is experiment, create, don't have fear.
I love that.
Thank you.
I think that's a very inspiring message. And yes, I also love the idea that new technologies are opening doors for women to create in new ways. And, I think that was the case back when the video camera was introduced, for example. But now also there are all these other tools that we have. And you and Lisa and others are pioneers in creating work with these new technologies and showing what can be done with them. So really applaud you all for your incredible work. Thank you. Well, I suppose I'm not sure how much time Lisa, Violeta, and Sarah have. I'm happy to hang out here for a while, and maybe if some of the others of you have time, maybe you can ask some questions if our guest presenters are able to stay for a bit longer.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I have a 1:30 and I need to make sure to eat before before I get into another meeting. But
Okay.
But I just want to say thank you again. Thank you, Violeta, for building the space, and thank you, Karen, for hosting us, and Sarah for for everything, for this whole initiative. It's just really lovely. So feel free, my Instagram and my LinkedIn are both linked here in the gallery. Please feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk with anybody more about the project or about other things. So thank you again for having me. I really appreciate everything.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Her screen.
Yeah,
She might.